My sister positioned herself in front of guests at her baby shower, grasping the small gift box I brought. She tilted it sideways with a smirk, announcing, "This one's from my sister. She barely makes enough for essentials, but let's see what she managed to bring." Laughter rippled through the room. My mother's cackle was the loudest. I felt myself shrinking inward. My face burned with humiliation while my hands turned ice cold. My 8-year-old son Noah glanced up at me from his seat, confusion and hurt filling his eyes. I remained silent, fighting the urge to disappear. Just as I reached for his jacket, Noah stood up. He quietly retrieved his backpack from beneath the table, walked deliberately to the front, and placed something beside the mountain of expensive gifts. The room fell silent. Every eye watched as he looked directly at my sister and stated firmly, "This is from my mother and from Grandpa too." My sister froze. My mother's expression collapsed. And when they opened that small package, the atmosphere in that room transformed completely. Let me reveal what was inside, and why it carried more significance than anything money could purchase. I never fit the traditional mother image. That's what people whispered behind my back. Not because I was irresponsible or too young, but because I wasn't the daughter anyone pictured cradling an infant. That role belonged to Lana, my younger sister. She was considered the attractive one, the intelligent one, the daughter who made appropriate choices. She completed college, earned her marketing degree, secured a prestigious downtown position, married a successful man, and now expected her first child. Perfect timing, perfect venue, perfect existence. I had Noah when I was 23. His father vanished before we even left the hospital. I raised him independently, without assistance, while balancing employment that barely covered our housing expenses. I cleaned residences during daylight hours and stocked grocery shelves overnight. Support was non-existent, especially from my mother, who consistently implied I was the daughter requiring intervention, perpetually verging on destroying my life with poor decisions. Years ago, I stopped seeking her help entirely. Only my father William saw beyond my struggles. Though quiet by nature, he possessed a unique ability to make me feel capable despite my circumstances. He would appear unannounced to repair household issues. He taught Noah carpentry basics, affectionately calling him Little Chief. Though never explicitly stated, I recognized his pride in me. Last year, he succumbed to cancer after prolonged illness. The grief remains overwhelming. Sometimes I catch myself almost messaging him Noah's latest school achievement before remembering he's gone. When Lana announced her pregnancy and distributed baby shower invitations, my feelings were complicated. Despite everything, I felt genuinely happy for her. She remained my sister. I wanted to attend, offer support, and possibly reconnect with family, even temporarily. I anticipated coolness, but not outright cruelty. Noah expressed excitement about bringing a gift. I assured him we would, despite financial constraints. My budget lacked room for extras, but I had preserved a crocheted blanket from Noah's infancy. It remained pristine in storage. After washing it thoroughly, I wrapped it carefully with a handwritten note. While not store-bought, it represented sincere sentiment. I hoped she would recognize that intention. On the shower day, I dressed in my best denim and clean blouse. Noah wore his button-down shirt with khakis. We traveled by public transportation. The celebration occupied an elegant event space outside town. Glass architecture, floral arrangements, catered refreshments. Everything conveyed affluence. Upon arrival, guests barely acknowledged us. Lana glowed in designer attire, surrounded by fashionable women enjoying champagne cocktails. I noticed my mother near the refreshments. She beckoned us over but offered no embrace, just a forced smile and glance at our modest gift. "How sweet," she remarked flatly. Noah hugged her. She briefly touched his hair before resuming conversation with Lana's acquaintances. We occupied a peripheral table. I served Noah punch while pretending not to notice our isolation. I reminded myself our presence was solely for Lana. Eventually, she began unwrapping presents. Attendees applauded each expensive item: warmers, luxury diaper bags, designer accessories. When she reached our box, she examined the tag. Her lips curved into that familiar condescending half-smile. Holding our gift dismissively, she announced, "This one's from my sister. She can't afford basic necessities, but let's examine her contribution." The comment struck like physical pain. I froze completely. Laughter erupted, my mother joining prominently. Heat crawled up my neck while Noah stared intently at me. Avoiding tears, I forced a smile, suggesting, "Everything's fine, sweetheart. Let's prepare to leave." But Noah remained motionless, attention fixed forward. Then he retrieved something from his backpack. Initially, I assumed it was artwork or a toy, unaware of his intentions. I didn't realize he had preserved something I'd forgotten existed, or that my 8-year-old son was about to completely transform the situation. Noah rose with determination I'd never witnessed before. From his backpack, he produced a small container wrapped in simple brown paper, starkly contrasting the elaborate packages surrounding it. I whispered his name, but he continued forward without hesitation. People noticed immediately. Conversations diminished to whispers, then silence. Lana paused mid-laugh as she turned toward him. My mother tilted her head with a puzzled expression, the kind adults display when uncertain about children's actions. Noah approached the gift table directly, faced Lana, and stated clearly, "This is from my mom, and from Grandpa too." Though quietly spoken, his words carried throughout the space. I watched shoulders straighten and heads turn. Lana's mouth opened slightly, but produced no sound. I stood, intending to approach, take his hand, and explain whatever was happening before it became another humiliation. Something instinctive told me to wait. Lana examined the small package, barely large enough for socks. The wrapping showed clear evidence of childish effort. Nevertheless, she accepted it. As she removed the paper, silence deepened. Inside lay folded stationery and an antique silver rattle, tarnished but beautiful, impossible to find in modern stores. Lana lifted it, confused, then examined the letter. My mother leaned forward, reading over her shoulder. I observed her eyebrows rising progressively. The letter displayed my father's distinctive handwriting. This realization struck powerfully. I hadn't seen that rattle since clearing father's possessions after his funeral, assuming it had been stored or donated. I had no knowledge Noah had preserved it, much less about any letter. My mother took the paper from Lana and began reading aloud. "To my next grandchild," she began, voice breaking. Audience members shifted uncomfortably. Lana's friends leaned forward, their earlier amusement replaced by attentiveness. I watched Lana's hands lower slowly, staring at the rattle with new understanding. Mother continued, "Family isn't measured by possessions or financial status. It's about presence, sacrifice, forgiveness. I hope as you grow, you'll treat people with kindness, regardless of their circumstances. You'll discover gifts appear in countless forms." Upon finishing, the room became so silent the air conditioning hummed noticeably. Lana appeared pale, fingers gripping the letter tightly. My mother avoided eye contact, blinking rapidly to contain emotion. Noah turned toward me. I smiled despite remaining frozen, throat constricted and hands trembling. I'd brought a recycled blanket to an extravagant celebration. Yet my son presented something irreplaceable, our heritage, our emotional truth, our authentic connection. I hesitated between apologizing or departing. Then Lana surprised everyone. She circled the table and approached Noah. Before all witnesses, she knelt and embraced him genuinely. Not performative politeness, but authentic connection. "Thank you," she whispered. "I never knew Father left this. I never realized." Noah nodded once and returned to me. I crouched to embrace him, experiencing something inside me finally release. Not painfully, but like emotional barriers finally dissolving. No applause followed. No additional jokes emerged. Merely silence, then hushed conversation, eventually evolving into unexpected tranquility. I hadn't sought respect that day, merely wished to avoid humiliation. Yet my son reminded everyone, including myself, the meaning of showing up authentically even when unwelcomed. Following Noah's presentation and the letter's revelation, I stood immobilized by the emotional seismic shift. Embarrassment and anger vanished, replaced by astonishment. While I'd focused on daily survival, my son had absorbed everything, silently planning to protect me beyond what seemed possible for his age. Lana's embrace concluded. Room tension dissipated, replaced by thick awkwardness. I returned to my seat, holding Noah close. He remained silent, resting against me. Pride filled me, accompanied unexpectedly by guilt, not from wrongdoing, but realizing how frequently I'd underestimated us both. Focused on surviving each day, I'd forgotten we offered more than struggle. Noah reminded me our worth transcended financial resources or appearances. As conversation resumed, my thoughts returned to the letter, the rattle, the mementos I'd packed away after Father's death. That day remained vivid. Mother barely speaking, Lana departing quickly, Noah helping transport items to storage. I hadn't noticed him retrieving the rattle and letter, likely discovered in drawers. He never mentioned it. I never asked. That evening, I questioned why he'd brought the gift without informing me. Sitting beside his bed, dinosaur stuffed animal tucked under his arm, he explained, "You always give everything, Mom, but they don't notice." I wanted them to see it this time. I didn't cry immediately, simply kissed his forehead and remained until he slept. His words resonated more profoundly than anything Lana ever said. That night, examining old photographs and correspondence, I discovered additional letters from Father, newspaper margin notes, envelope corner sketches. He'd written my name countless times. I'd spent years feeling insufficient, yet discovered evidence I'd always mattered deeply to someone. Next morning, I made a decision to stop hiding from family, pretending indifference to their treatment. I would engage differently for myself and Noah. Calling Mother that afternoon, she answered typically abruptly. I expressed gratitude for reading the letter. After silence, she admitted, "I didn't know he wrote that." Neither did I, but Noah preserved it. Another pause followed before she softly acknowledged, "He's a wonderful child." "Indeed, and I'm dedicated to raising him correctly." "I realize that," she replied. The first time in years I believed her sincerity. I didn't expect immediate transformation or sudden maternal affection and apologies. Something had shifted fundamentally. She heard Father's words clearly, perhaps seeing me through his perspective for the first time. Lana texted later that week, mentioning she'd prominently displayed the letter and rattle in the nursery. She expressed gratitude, wishing her child to know our Father. I didn't request elaboration, that sufficed. Most significantly, I changed internally. I stood taller and maintained eye contact, not because others granted permission, but because my son reminded me of my identity, heritage, and that love's significance, even when humbly presented, outweighs any dismissive laughter. Unexpectedly, Lana requested a meeting days after the shower, a straightforward message without embellishment, simply providing time and location. I hesitated, tired of initiating contact where unwelcomed. This felt different, invitation rather than demand. I agreed, bringing Noah along. Her apartment smelled intentionally welcoming, cinnamon and vanilla. Baby clothes lay folded neatly, a crib positioned against the wall, and prominently displayed on the dresser. Father's rattle and framed letter, positioned reverentially. Lana greeted Noah warmly before requesting private conversation. While Noah enjoyed hot chocolate with her husband, I followed her to the nursery. Sitting bedside, nervously rubbing her hands, she finally admitted, "I behaved cruelly at the shower. I claimed it was humorous, but knew it would hurt. That was intentional." I remained silent, awaiting completion. She continued, "I've envied you, Celine. It seemed absurd to acknowledge when everyone claimed I had everything perfectly arranged. But you possess something I lack. You've raised a child willing to confront a room of strangers, speak authentically, and impact adults profoundly. That doesn't result from fortune, but from your influence." Words escaped me. She glanced toward the framed letter, continuing, "When Father died, I emotionally disconnected. I couldn't admit my need for him, but hurt you worse by denying his preferences. He favored you, justifiably. Deep down, I recognized you earned that connection." Joining her, surrounded by nursery quietness and baby lotion fragrance, I finally responded, "I never wished to compete. Only to be sisters." She nodded tearfully. "I no longer want competition either." We sat in meaningful silence before she asked permission to share stories about our father with her child, not just about the rattle, but his secret candy gifts to Noah, attendance at school functions despite my work obligations, and bedtime stories with distinctive voices. She wanted her child to experience similar love. I immediately agreed. Returning to the living room, Noah curled contentedly with hot chocolate, evidence on his upper lip. Lana knelt before him, promising, "When your cousin arrives, I'll share about your bravery and profound love for your mother." Noah smiled gently, nodding acknowledgement. Traveling home, Noah asked if Lana remained angry. "No," I explained. She finally perceived reality accurately. Beyond the physical items, they represented our family history, emotions, hardships, and inherent value. They reminded us dignity transcends status or wealth, emerging from personal conduct, especially without external validation. Gazing through the bus window at blurring city lights, I imagined Father's potential response seeing us now. Likely, "Well done, kid." For the first time in ages, I believed it completely. Following that evening at Lana's, subtle but undeniable transformation began between us. We didn't become immediate confidants with constant communication. However, the underlying competitive tension and judgment vanished from our interactions. A week later, Lana invited us to family dinner at Mother's home. Initially hesitant, having avoided that table for over a year, I considered Noah's eagerness and reminded myself that visibility represented personal empowerment rather than merely forgiving others. We contributed homemade lasagna. I dressed comfortably rather than formally. Mother was arranging the table upon arrival, greeting us with genuine warmth. "You cooked?" I teased gently. She responded meaningfully. "You inspired me. You consistently accomplished more with less." Unable to respond adequately, I assisted with final preparations. The dinner wasn't flawless. Conversation occasionally stalled with excessive effort. However, laughter emerged naturally. Noah sat beside grandmother, enthusiastically describing his science project while she listened attentively. Later that night, he asked, "Are we truly family now?" His question impacted me profoundly. "Always were," I assured him. "But now they're beginning to recognize it too." For years, I carried undeserved shame, measuring myself against others' achievements, feeling perpetually behind. That's easy when society rewards perfection, wealth, and status. Noah's reminder was powerful. Authentic love isn't measured through price tags or applause, but through presence, effort, and quiet actions unwitnessed. Father understood this principle. He parented not through grandiose speeches or expensive gifts, but through patience and faith. The letter and rattle weren't merely physical inheritances, but transmitted values, truths, and reminders that certain principles transcend bitterness or forgetfulness. In subsequent weeks, communication with Lana increased. Carefully, gradually, we rebuilt connection. She inquired about previously ignored aspects of my life. She attended Noah's school performance with her husband, celebrating afterward with ice cream. Our relationship may never become effortless, but it's developing honesty, exceeding my expectations. Mother, too, has evolved subtly. She interacts more gently with Noah. Her inquiries about my well-being sound genuine rather than obligatory. Occasionally her comments still sting, but I've learned to address them directly, and significantly, she listens, a novel development. The most profound transformation occurred within myself. I stopped apologizing for my identity. I ceased diminishing myself in intimidating environments. The internal voice criticizing my inadequacy has quieted. If my son, with innocent clarity, recognized my worth so distinctly, I owe us both that belief. When doubts resurface, I recall that pivotal moment. The crowded room, sister's laughter, mother's smirk, then my son rising, stepping forward, speaking for us both when courage failed me. Everything changed then. Love requires no volume, merely authenticity. Sometimes the smallest offering carries the deepest heritage. To every single parent facing judgment, to anyone ridiculed for financial limitations, don't allow external voices to diminish your worth. You've always been sufficient. Sometimes it requires a child's perspective to demonstrate love's genuine power. If this narrative resonated with you, if you've experienced being overlooked or underestimated, or if someone supported you when others doubted, please like this video. Share it with someone needing reassurance that quiet strength and authentic love supersede everything else. I welcome your thoughts. Have you experienced someone defending you when you couldn't defend yourself? Comment below. I read everything, and your experiences matter here. For more authentic stories exploring human connection, family dynamics, forgiveness, and personal growth, subscribe and activate notifications for future content. Thank you for your presence. You are recognized and valued. Until next time.